Okay, welcome, folks. Okay, we continue with our mimer Hasidic discourse. Oh, getting our early morning.
This one will wake you up. Nice.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai le'olam shehakol. Oh, Chaim, a wake-up call in the service of God. All right. We're talking about two paths, a great one and a holy one. A one that we bend ourselves out of shape or trying to get into shape, but bending our base nature. And then one of transformation. And they have to go in an order. First, you have to bend your nature, not to give in to your nature. Then you can transform your nature. And that's what happened historically. And that's what happens as the Torah describes. Going out of Egypt in the month of Nisan, the first month, the first thing, go out of your limitation. Your limitation is to study in the times of the Talmud 100 times, you go to 101, right? Beyond your nature. Your nature is to, you know, your nature is that you get upset, you get angry, you have your trigger. So you don't transform your trigger. You learn how to not get triggered. That's going out of your Egypt. That's an amazing thing to do because you're rising beyond yourself. The problem is it doesn't become yourself. That's the problem. Well, that's step two, the month of Iyar. The month of Iyar is primarily defined by Sfiras Omer, the counting of the Omer. Counting of the Omer is every day a different attribute we refine. That's already an inside job. It's not beyond me. It's in me, of me, becomes me. That's transformation. So where I would have a trigger, I've transformed that trigger, right? Trigger isn't there anymore. Now, there might be other things, but that trigger isn't there anymore. That's what it means, the sphere of the day that has been dealt with in the counting of the Omer. Okay. So there's an order. Now, the light, the divine light in transformation, being that it's internalized and it becomes you, is a lesser light than that which is beyond you. So we have a virtue in each. In the first month of going out of your Egypt, iskafia, of bending your nature, you have to rise beyond your nature. It doesn't, though, become your nature because it's greater than your nature, that light. The second month, ER, counting of the Omer, where you're now internalizing. It's becoming your nature. Well, become your nature, the light is a reduced one because it's internalized. It becomes you, not beyond you. Now, the distinction between the distinction of why is it that one becomes internalized the second month, right? And it's transformative as opposed to the first month, it doesn't become you, is because primarily it's a light that's from above. It's like that inspiration. Inspiration is amazing, but inspiration is something beyond you, and it doesn't become you. That's what inspiration means. That's what's in Esrusa de Le'ela, an awakening from above. So God took us out of Egypt. He took us out. We didn't take ourselves out because it wasn't internalized. So whenever you have an inspiration, Chaim, like our learning is inspiring, I hope. Sure it is. That's why you're here day out. But the inspiration's from above. It's the mimer that's inspiring. You know, however well I'm giving it over, may add or detract from the inspiration. But hopefully adds to the inspiration. But it's not me. When does it become me? When I internalize it. When I take it and think about it and work it through and daven with it, right? I use it in prayer and to become me. Right? Because let's think about it. This is, these teachings are lofty teachings of this discourse, the teachings of Tanya. So we get inspired, but it quickly evaporates. And I end up being the same person. I didn't transform. So it's not sufficient that we just hear the class, and it's not sufficient for me to teach the class sufficiently. And, what needs to be done is it needs to be internalized, which is to become us. So on some level it does, in some manners it does, right? So again, each one has its virtue, and there's an order here. First, we need to be inspired. We need to know that there's something greater than me that I can become, that I can look up towards and see that as, the goal. And even though it's a great light that's not me, I bend myself, right, in the sense that um, that I incorporate in a way that it is something that I adhere to. And then through the next step, I don't just adhere to something greater than me, a lesser light of it becomes me. It becomes me. Right. So that's why the second month ER that we're in now is called in Tanakh Chodesh Ziv, the the month of the ray of light. You know, the rays of light of the sun become stronger, right? At least in the northern hemisphere. It becomes stronger, but it's only a ray of light. It's only a ray, meaning it's that ray that can become absorbed, integrated, and become a part of me. Okay. So what's happening when you get inspired? Who's being talked to? Your godly soul. You're feeling the inspiration in your godly soul, which is amazing. But the difficulty or the challenge that it comes as a result is that it only remains there in the godly soul. After the inspiration, who do you welcome back into your life? Your animal soul. Meaning you didn't transform it, right? Because you were talking primarily to the godly soul and it's not felt, it's not sensed in the animal soul. And therefore, the 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 uh, the avoda, the service, will not be so much with the animal soul, as opposed to when it's internalized and you are talking not just to your godly soul. When you internalize it, you own it. You're talking to your animal soul, and you're transforming the animal soul. That the animal soul also wants this. So you don't have to fight your animal soul. Right? Your animal soul also wants to learn. Your animal soul also wants to pray and daven to Hashem, to do the mitzvah, right? That's transformative. That's the second step, second month, right? That's the idea. Again, the spheres Eimer, the counting of the Eimer. Okay. So what brings to the person iskafia to be able to bend themselves is because the light is greater than themselves, right? But again, it doesn't become themselves, right? The paradox, right? The light's greater than me, but because it's greater than me, it doesn't become me. It doesn't become internalized. So in a similar way, the revelation that's brought through this Avodah, the virtue of this revelation that's brought from is Iskafia, is a greater light. I opened it up. Sounds like they really want to come in. Huh?
The plumber.
Uh-huh. So, בוקר טוב, בוקר טוב. תגיד קצת תהילים.
כן, זה ממהר, שחררים.
אנו לומדים על הקו עכשיו. Sorry, 1 second. I'm make sure I get this clear. So the patriarchs, I don't know if born in the month of Nisan, and they become the light of the world in ER. So there's an idea of first birth, which is, of course, something greater than, beyond. And then there is the light that you become after birth. So just as the month of year is called Ziv, it's called the ray of light, right? So the patriarchs are called the ray of the world, right? So born in Nisan, right? So that's a metaphor for us to appreciate that first needs to be born an inspiration, right? And born an inspiration is something beyond us, right? Like, God chooses when the child's going to be born. It's not something, and the whole thing is, even though it's birth is a natural thing, but it's the experience of it is something heavenly beyond. It's the sensing of God's miracle, which is the month of Nisan. That's the month that the Jewish people are born. That's when the patriarchs are born. They become the light of the world after being born, right? They become the light. And the idea of becoming a light means taking that which is beyond and internalizing it and bringing it in a manner that you own it. That you own it. And that's what the patriarchs did, right? That they brought the light of God. They were the embodiment of that light of God. And they brought it in a manner that it is internalized and part of creation, part of the people, in their divine service. Right? So, in a similar manner, is the distinction between the revelation that's drawn through the avodah, the service, the divine service of tzaddikim, the righteous, to the revelation that's drawn through the divine service of the penitent. Remember, we're not talking about two different people here. We're talking about two different paths. And the two different paths are now reflected in two different months. First month, second month. First month of penitence, second month of the righteous, right? The penitent is reaching beyond themselves to, and that's where penitence comes from, beyond us, right? Beyond. And then there is the righteous that is brought in and internalized and becomes us, right? The second month. So so these are the two paths, again, two paths of the same person, myself and you, all right? And that's why we call it an avodah. Avodah means service, right? A divine service. And so the revelation that's drawn through penitence is greater, but the fact that it comes down and is drawn into this world, right? It's greater, but then doesn't kind of come into the world because it's beyond us, right? It doesn't become us. As opposed to that which is drawn into this world and internalized and becomes a part of this world, that's the idea of the righteous, right? That it becomes internalized, as everything we've explained, right? So to understand that idea further, to give it greater depth of understanding to this notion. Oh, I realize the time. Okay. I know where we're picking up from. You get into it and you lose yourself. Baruch Hashem. I don't know if that means because it's beyond me or internalized. All right. Oh, where's Andrew? I have to find out. He hasn't been. Okay. See you shortly, folks.